The story starts with some explorers finding a woman frozen in a large iceberg, and one of them asks the other explorer to inform the arcane court about this, as this ice is supposed to be from the Ice Age. The woman wakes up, and she wonders how many thousands of years it has been. She thinks that she might have overslept, and the explorers find out that she is a former god. She then asks the explorers to bring her the best player of the game in this era. The scene then cuts to a city named Ruin, and an announcer states that humans are challenging 3 gods to a god's game right now. People from all over the world are watching, and our protagonist named Faye Theophilus enters the city. He thinks that it's been 6 months since he was last here, and he notices the gods' game on TV. The apostles participating in the games then start to lose, and they lose all 3 of the gods' games. Faye then thinks that he should keep going as he is also a challenger, but someone from the crowd around the TV recognizes him, and Faye leaves before a crowd surrounds him. He then goes to the branch office of the Arcane Court, and he is welcomed back by Miranda. He asks her why she has called him back, and she states that it seems like the girl that Faye was looking for turned out to be the wrong person. Faye mentions that Miranda said that she found someone who looked like her, and he states that the girl he was looking for had bright red hair. Miranda mentions that she knows that Faye is looking for the girl who taught him how to play games when he was younger, and she only said that she heard rumors of a girl like that. She mentions that she needs to speak with him privately, and they head to the 17th floor. On the way she tells him that she wants him to meet a girl, and she apparently asked them to bring the best player of this era. Faye wonders who this girl is, and Miranda states that it's a god. She explains that a year ago, a god in the form of a girl was dug out of some permafrost, and she was taken into their arcane court because they were close by. Miranda mentions that she hid on the sea floor while playing tag with the humans, and while she was hiding, she fell asleep, and headed right into the Ice Age. She accidentally napped for the last 3,000 years, and she is apparently the avatar of flame in the form of a dragon. She says that she is a former god whose power has declined, but they definitely shouldn't make her angry, as she can wipe this city off the map within an hour. Faye wonders why they are holding on to such a dangerous god, and Miranda states that they didn't know that she was dangerous at first. She mentions that Faye will be watching over her, and Faye is surprised to hear this. She takes Faye to her room, and she mentions that she wants to know why she is still here, and not going back to the elements, but they have to be careful not to make her angry. This is why Faye is perfect for the job, as he won't die. She explains that the power of the gods is too great, and can destroy the humans easily, and this is why they need to ask Faye to do this, since his Arise skill is to not die. Faye then enters the god's room, and he notices that the room has a lot of games in it. He thinks that this god must really love games, and he then rolls some dice he finds in the room, and he manages to predict the outcome of the roll. Miranda wonders if this was a coincidence, but Faye explains that it's just a simple trick. He mentions that they just have to make sure that the opposite side of the desired numbers are facing up, and roll the dice in such a way that it only makes half a turn. The god then comes out of the bath, and seeing her reminds Faye of the girl who taught him how to play games. Miranda then introduces Faye as the best player of this era, and she mentions that ever since he debuted last year, he's won 3 god games. She also introduces the god to Faye as Lealetia, and Faye is still surprised by her looks. Miranda then leaves after asking Faye to handle the rest, and afterwards Lealetia states that the 2 of them are going to play a game. Faye mentions that they should introduce themselves before that, but Lealetia states that they are going to introduce themselves through this game. She then lays out a few cards, and Faye thinks that this doesn't look like a god's game. Lealetia then explains that she made this game when she was getting bored, and she calls it self-intro memory. The rules are the same as a regular game of memory, and instead of numbers they will be pairing with the subject and theme of the self-intro. If she matches the cards with hometown written on them, then Faye will have to answer questions about his hometown, and if she doesn't get a match, he doesn't have to answer. She states that they have to answer truthfully, and she shuffles the cards. Faye asks her to reshuffle them, as he already knows the layout of the cards, because she laid them out on the table just now, and Lealesia is surprised that he can keep track of all the cards even after her shuffling. She states that she likes him, and she likes the fact that he wants to play fair against a god. She mentions that in this case, they can't play this game on such a small table, and she makes the cards float, and they constantly keep moving in a circle. Faye notices that the cards are moving in different orbits, and at different speeds, and he thinks that Lealesia added this extra condition as she knows that neither of them are going to forget the location of the card that's been revealed once. Lealesia then mentions that she wants to add an additional rule, and she states that in a regular game of memory, they get another turn if they get a matching pair, but she wants to omit this rule. Faye thinks that this added rule is going to be a pain, and he gets excited to play the game. Faye takes the first turn, and he draws 2 cards, but they are hometown and blood type, and they don't match. Faye wonders if gods even have a blood type, and Lealesia states that her blood is hotter than lava, and a single drop can melt this building. He will have to draw the blood type card if he wants to know more, and Lealesia then takes her turn, and she draws the hometown and name card, and that's not a match. Since Faye has not seen both the hometown cards, he draws them, as he remembers their location, and Lealesia answers his question. She mentions that she is from the elements, and it's a space that the humans call the superior spiritual realm. This is where the gods live, and humans need a special spatial door to enter there. Miranda, who is watching all this using a camera, states that the gods are starved for games, and because they were bored, they gave humans arises so that the humans could challenge them to games. There are 7 rules of the god games. Rule 1: humans who receive an arise from the gods will become an apostle. Rule 2: they will be able to challenge gods to a battle of wits with either superhuman or magical powers. Rule 3: all gods games will take place within the elements. Rule 4: arises can only be used within elements. Rule 5: if an apostle wins in a god's game, they will be able to use part of their arise in real world, and the more they win, the more power they will be able to use in the real world. Those powers are absolutely necessary to pioneer unexplored lands, as 93% of their world is hostile and unexplored. Rule 6: apostles will lose their right to play after a total of 3 losses. Rule 7: after winning against the god 10 times, the apostles will get a clear. After they receive a clear, they will be given a celebration, but they are still uncertain as to what this means. Miranda mentions that no human has achieved this feat until now, but Faye might be able to do this. Faye then tells Lealesia that he is a little surprised that she is answering the questions without hesitating, and Lealesia mentions that this is just one of the rules of the game. She then draws 2 cards, and she gets a pair of name cards. She asks for Faye's name, and Faye introduces himself. Lealesia asks him if he has a nickname, but Faye mentions that he doesn't, and he realizes that if they pick a card pertaining to a subject, they can ask as many questions as they can think of about that subject. They just need to be witty enough to do so, but this is not a simple game where they just have to match some cards. Even if they know the location of some cards, not taking them can lead to their victory. After that, the both of them take a few turns, and Lealesia then draws a pair of blank cards. Faye thinks that this means that she can ask whatever question she likes, and these are the cards he was after. Lealesia then flexes her power, and she asks Faye his real reason for trying to get closer to her. Noticing her power, Faye thinks that she may be a former god, but she is as strong as any other god. He mentions that a game is more fun if they have someone to play with, so they basically had the same motive. He states that they were both after the blank cards, and he mentions that he knew that Lealesia would see through Miranda's motive, but it's fine with him, as he got to play a fun game. Faye then tells her that his goal is to keep an eye on Lealesia, and he mentions that Miranda wanted to find out who she truly is, and what's her motive. Lealesia states that she already knew this, and she mentions that Faye is a good human for answering her honestly, and playing this game with her. She states that she likes Faye, and she asked him this question because she trusts him. She tells him that he doesn't need to be formal with her, as playing games won't be fun if there is distance between them. Faye asks her if it's okay for her to be so friendly with him, and Lealetia mentions that he lived up to this game's potential. She states that the cards he gathered are dreams, hometown, and hobbies, and he wasn't trying to win against her in the first place. Faye states that she is right, and he mentions that the true nature of this game is to collect the cards with subjects that they don't know about each other. He explains that matching a name card won't do him any good, as he already knows her name, and he would have just wasted his turn as he is not going to get another one after matching the cards. Because of this rule, he always weighed the cards he memorized against the information he wants. Lealetia then asks him what he would have asked her if he got the blank cards, and Faye wonders if this means that she is going to answer his question. She mentions that this depends on the question, and Faye asks her why she is staying here instead of returning to the elements, and why she chose him, as there are plenty of apostles who are more skilled than him. Lealetia states that it's because Faye is the only apostle who got 3 wins in a row, and even in the last century only a few rookies would compare to him. She states that she wants to clear the gods' games with him, and she explains that she came to this realm because she wants to play with the humans, but she forgot that she couldn't go back to being a god after descending to the human realm. Faye is surprised to hear how clumsy she is, and Lealetia mentions that this is nothing to worry about as she just has to get 10 victories in the gods' games and then she can go back to being a god. Faye wonders if she actually knows the reward for winning the god games, and she mentions that if they win the games, the gods will grant as many wishes as they desire. Faye can't believe that the gods are this generous, and Lealetia reminds him that no human has managed to accomplish this before. She then takes Faye to a divine gate at the dive center, and she mentions that she has been waiting for a human like Faye. She takes him inside the gate, and they arrive in a superior spiritual realm. There they notice a giant stone god, and they participate in a hide-and-seek gods game.